newest conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shal. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
This week on Cold Reality Radio. The election just 2 days away. Filth, degeneracy, just absolute failure of man to realize that it's being manipulated in incredible ways. Visited a small Trump rally. And all I heard was talking points and just repeaters. Good people, just repeating what they've heard, like good Westworld hosts. Programmed to do what they do. Trump Marathon Sunday. Pope takes final shot at Donald. It's very close. Minnesota, Clinton warns fake wikis coming, of course. Get everybody prepared so that when they come out, people won't even listen to them because they'll be fake. The more I look at Hillary, she's beginning to look like the Seitung family or the North Korean. Darken her hair, and she looks like the North Korean member of the North Korean leadership. Who is Huma? My guest in the second hour today is going to be Greg once again. We're going to talk about the coup that Steve Pieczenik has said to have taken place, a silent coup that's going to ruin Hillary. Greg will break down what he saw back in 1992. Pretty much the same machinations taking place to try and destroy Bill Clinton, knowing that he was a corrupt piece of shit, as well as his wife, and then of course George W. Bush and all these other garbage front men for the New World Order. So we're already into November. It's the 6th, and as I said, the 8th is election day, and I don't know about you, but I will not be participating in that. If one aspect of it, one glaring aspect of it is that if it was such an important day, okay, if it was such an important day, why wouldn't everyone have off? Why wouldn't it be a national holiday? Because, that right there should tell you that the system is illegitimate. Now, there's some people that do, and they're going to be shutting down schools because, of the threat of violence. So that's, very interesting. But it's what you would expect to see in the fall of this empire. And, as I said, Greg's going to go into more of this today. in his breakdowns of what is happening, what's really going on, and how similar things during the 1992 presidential election were happening, because I was, you've got Bill Clinton, who is just a Rockefeller by blood, and of course the Rockefellers are connected to European bloodlines as well, families that run and own and control America and always have. Like George Carlin said, they ram the red, white, and blue dildo up your ass and get you to believe in things that are not real. They've got everybody, or should I say large portions of the corporation known as the United States, believing patriotically, calling themselves patriots. I had people saying to me yesterday, you hear about 9/11? You hear about 9/11? Did you think Alex Jones is legitimate? Do you think this one, that one? I said, it's all a game. It's all a movie. It's all a movie that's being played for you, and you are a commoner. I told them in very, very in certain ways that were not abrasive. I said, we are commoners. We are not the people. We've been lied to. And we are not who we think that we are. And that was one of the things that when Greg started listening to Clint, he said, we need to know who we are before we can change anything, if change is even possible. And of course, Clint says there's only one way to remove yourself from this system, is to leave it. Do not participate in its monetary spiderweb. And Greg, he's got some different thoughts on it, but Clint has really opened up my eyes about what this really is. He's made it abundantly clear that that Alex Jones is basically an operative of this system, most likely a member of the family, or one of the families, or pretty much they're just all. And then you say these things. I said to the guys, I said, Obama's related to Cheney. They found that out. Guy was like pie-eyed, like, what? And I said, yeah, it's on. You just look at it. Look it up on YouTube. Cheney's related to W. That means Obama's related to W. And, you've got your Hollywood branch of, basically, bloodlines of the Illuminati. Marilyn Monroe, Tom Hanks. And then somebody said, I think Tom Hanks is a fun actor. And I said, yeah, he's okay. But there's one reason that he's there, and it's because he's got connections to Abraham Lincoln and, the Hanks, I believe, his wife, Lincoln's wife. But then, of course, I said, you got Brad Pitt, who's related to Obama, and you've got Angelina Jolie, who's related to Hillary. And this goes all the way back to Cleopatra and a lot of these other flattering titles that, had the ability to basically control people, and that's what they do. They control people with power And, they say it goes all the way back to Egyptian, and all this stuff with all the symbolism on the dollar bill and all that other stuff. But the bottom line here is they basically tell you, they're in your face telling you. I just got caught up with the Westworld, fifth episode, and it's quite fascinating how there are so many similarities to this fictional world that is that has been created. It is indeed a fictional world. It is and has been created for the families to prosper incredibly, and the commoners to be extracted from, like I said any number of times before, and it's really kind of coming out now in the Westworld series that we are the host, they are the parasite. I don't know if anybody in the chat room has been watching that. So if you haven't, I would suggest that maybe you check it out, because it really kind of gives you an idea, and they really kind of, Greg mentioned that, they really kind of show you, they tell you in so many different ways how you are a slave. And in this HBO production, which I'm sure has major ties to the control system, we see, with The Sopranos, how they make people believe that they are, something that they're not, and they're going to go into a little bit of that, but it's very, very interesting with what we're seeing in many shows, many television shows. Of course, The Matrix, one of an example, of what we are, where they've got us, how they live and parasitically off of us, and it's very powerful examples of how it's happening and what we're going to see, because we're not who we think we are. And if we knew who we were, then you wouldn't see the level of submissive, just caving in, like a lot of these willing slaves, and it's pretty obvious that Hillary is not pulling anywhere near the crowds of people that Trump is bringing into his rallies. And so the election, or whatever it is, will be manipulated. Chances are she will, unless there's any truth to this silent coup, or if they're saying that if she does win, that she'll be impeached immediately or near, at some point. So that is, there's any number of possibilities that, but this, of course, this Steve Pachenik and Greg was trying to explain the other night about this coup, but I was in the middle of a lot of stuff, dealing with, a sick dog. Jackson has some form of lymphoma, and he's not having a good time. He's having a lot of issues, a lot of symptoms of the disease, the cancer, the omas that we haven't really truly been able to eradicate. This great country. And it's funny. I was just listening to a clip from another HBO presentation called The Newsroom. And it was the very first episode where the guy from Dumb and Dumber, I can't think of his name, but he's Jeff Daniels. And he's sitting there and he's asking this young woman in the crowd, and obviously he's like a journalist, a journalist who's telling the truth, right? So she said, what makes us, or something, like some question, some oblivious, retarded question about, us being number one in the world and the greatest this and that. And then he goes off on this just absolute, rant about how we are not number one. And he just points out all of these glaring examples of how we are just not what we're told that we are. And then, of course, the rest of the show goes on where they're trying to reel him in because he's actually telling the truth. And then it's, of course, they embolden and exacerbate fake news, fake events. I mean, like supposed real events that happen in the real world, 9/11, all these other things. But then, he's... we're going to have to do something about him. He can't be up there saying these things. He's a loose cannon, like the guy. Maddie knows about the clip. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And, of course, what was that movie with... you have meddled with the primal forces of nature, and you will atone. Fire. I'll lead you to fire. Of course, that's one of Payday's openings. I had the glassy-eyed stare that's always been there, way before I smelled the cannabis sativa in the air. The receptors in my vortex keep me well aware, so my retinas are shielded to protect me from the glare. When they spray, your DNA is medium rare. Churn it up and burn it up. Burn it up and churn it up way beyond repair. Some say, Mr. Monsanto, it really isn't fair. You're so damn diligent and rather debonair. To which I say, everything is on the square. There are no shenanigans happening over here. Prosecutors are preparing. The judges are a-swearing. In the maritime, I'm the Admiral Extraordinaire. What is it? I'm the Admiral Extraordinaire. I make the magic happen when I'm lounging in my chair. No, from the apple to the plum to the peach to the pear, I make the magic happen when I'm lounging in my chair with a bowl of Indonesia and a chocolate eclair. Now that's creativity right there. And I think I got that word for word, but I truly believe that Payday is one of the most creative, recognized, but not recognized like, Beyonce and all these other the mind control slaves, like all the videos on YouTube. Oh, mind control slave. Oh, Brittany, you really had a bad year, didn't you? You really had a bad year. And then she goes, yeah, I'm going to cry now. Turn the camera off. The mind control slaves of the, is Timberlake? Timberlake must have been Must have been a mind control slave. Because he was part of, Disney. And remember, Walt Disney was Hitler. Because he looked just like him, right? So yeah, you have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And of course, that's what the guy in Newsroom was doing. He was meddling with the primal forces. And he was becoming a liability. But it's sad that we, again, we don't know who we are. We don't. And I suggest that, you do check out Westworld, because there are so many similarities to this, and they're just getting through to drop all kinds of weird shit on. And my guess is that, well, I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but we are going to talk about it today. So if you haven't caught up, it's going to be talked about today. And of course, the election and so many other things. I see Clint has messaged me. So Clint, you are more than welcome to join us today on Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network, on the amazing and fantastical interwebs, the interwebs that bring all this fantastical, incredible, audio and video and just everything, And then you think, why are they doing this? What is the purpose of it? Is it just to dominate people? Is something cataclysmic coming at some point? Because as we get further down the road, dead men tell no tales, right? So what is the plan? What is the plan for manatee? What is the plan? Who will win this and become the CEO of the United States corporation? Everybody seems pretty sure that Hillary's got it. She gets all the Hollywood types, the Elizabeth Banks and the Beyonce. And of course, via Clint here, it's for people to scare themselves and each other into submission. And of course, you've got, and as was said so many times and so eloquently by George Carlin, the elite, pay none of the taxes. The middle class do all the work and pay all the taxes, and the poor are there to scare the shit out of the middle class. And of course, yes, daylight savings is upon us. It's actually what? Is it 9:43? The show isn't even happening live. It's
completely backwards.
Am I backwards? Is it 11:45? What the hell time is it?
It's not daylight savings anymore.
It's not daylight savings anymore. There's no reason to save daylight anymore. And then didn't they change it a number of years ago? All the things that they've done all so many years, they changed it again to have some kind of effect on time And what is time anyway? Just another fiction to be able to control time to see what's become of me. Look around. I really like that new Chili Peppers song. Look around. I really like that. Take a look at that. Watch the video. They make reference to Fayetteville. Incredible band. Most likely part of the aristocracy at some level. There's also another video of where they tell me, baby, what's your story, where you come from, it's a video of people that travel to Hollywood to see if they can make it in music or being an actor or doing something to become famous, and they never really did, but they appeared in a Red Hot Chili Peppers video, which I guess is kind of cool. And if you've listened to the program in the past, Clint said there was a lot of people out in Hollywood that were looking for a big break, and of course, you don't get those breaks if you're just a regular commoner. You have to be a Tom Hanks or a Marilyn Monroe or a Angelina Jolie, Angelina, Brad Pitt, and I'm sure there's many, many more out there that are. Look at. There's no doubt in my mind, and I listen to Bill Burr at times, and he was talking about what's her face, the woman, Oscar-winning. She's been Meryl Streep, and Burr got very, very annoyed with her because she can say things like, if you want something done, you need a woman to do it. So it's another thing, these groups can say things and nothing can be said about it. But if a man got up there and said, if you want things right, you can't let a woman do it, or, whatever. And so it's the same thing where certain groups can say whatever they want to say. But then there's certain groups that had, better, keep their mouth shut because, check your privilege, that type of thing. It's one of those, check your privilege at the door, partner. So, right. So I heard this thing. Greg was mispronouncing the name, but I'm very familiar with Steve Pachenik. This guy, Alex Jones's. And I think he didn't have him on there for a while because Pachenik was, he mentioned the Z word, the Z word and the J word. And so, there's a lot of things in there that I think Jones didn't want to be heard on there, which is kind of weird because then he had David Duke on one day about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, for 2.5 hours. It was like the Alex Jones, David Duke, debate. And that was just, Alex's way of saying, hey, I don't invite anybody on the show. I'll debate anybody. And that sounds more like Jerry Seinfeld than Alex Jones. I'll debate anybody. Tomorrow we're going to have David Duke on. and we're going to find out why he hates the Jews. And he hates the blacks. And, of course, he was a grand dragon, the KKK, But I guess nobody's pointing out that Byrd, right? That Byrd, one of Hillary's mentors was a KKK guy, right? The old fella. The old fella was a KKKer, and then of course Margaret Sanger said we got to do something about these weeds, and she was horrifically talking about black people. And of course, another one of her heroes, one of Hillary's heroes, is Margaret Sanger. What the fuck? What bizarro world? Truly bizarro world. So she's backed by, and I think Ann Coulter wrote an article saying how all of these people that are supposedly, let me see here, all these people that are supposedly, or they're totally backing Hillary. Let me see if I can. In Coulter article. This week, where she points out that, that Lady Gaga and Madonna and, let me see, over a second. I think it was my final argument, and of course there was a point where I didn't really, I was kind of deceived by the system to a great deal because I was against George W. Bush and I voted for Al Gore and I voted for John Kerry, Frankenstein, fired bad. And so, you know what, Anne's still kind of, a chode, but she takes a lot of she was actually on a roast. She was actually at the Peyton Manning roast, and she took a lot of it was a roast, but they were they set her on fire. They did more. So for every argument the media makes against Trump, Hillary is worse. 11 years ago, Trump said on a secret recorded tape that celebrities can do anything, even grab private parts. Hillary, born-again Victorian virgin, campaigns with Beyonce, who performs a duet with the words curvilicious, same thing that Trump said, served deliciously. Hillary is thrilled to have the support of Madonna, who has publicly offered to give blowjobs to anyone who votes for Hillary. She'll even remove her teeth. Hillary's campaign has deployed Miley Cyrus to canvass for her when Cyrus is not busy inviting men in the audience to reach up and grab her private parts. When Vernon Jordan asked by CBS's Mike Wallace when he talked about while golfing with Bill Clinton, aka Hillary's husband, he answered, private, it's just a mess. Okay, 11 years before Teddy Kennedy ran for president as the conscience of the Democratic Party, he killed a girl after grabbing her by the cash and prizes. Trump's a sexual predator, they say. Hillary's husband is a well-established rapist, groper, and pants-dropper. She is his fixer. Unlike the serial predations of her husband, leveled repeatedly throughout the decades, these 11th hour allegations against Trump are highly suspect for the timing alone. Recall the New York Times spent months investigating Trump's treatment of women earlier this year. The newspaper of record put its best reporters on the job, interviewed dozens of women, and the paper splashed the story on the front page. So Trump doesn't give enough charity. Several of Trump's businesses went bankrupt. Trump University was a scam. Hillary and Bill Clinton are one of the biggest scams running, but it doesn't seem to turn people away. It pulls, and the reason being is that Hillary is Hollywood. Hollywood, the networks that put out all this stuff, they're even putting on shows that have Trump style characteristics in their characters, and you can just tell, you can just see it, that they are programming people's minds against Trump-like behavior. Okay, Whitewater. Though Hillary had long claimed to have had nothing to do with the operations of the business, when the books were finally opened, it turned out that the monthly checks were mailed to the Whitewater Development Corporation, care of Hillary Rodham Clinton. All right. We can't trust Trump with the nuclear codes. Hillary is the one who is chomping at the bit to go to war with Russia, which she says, which I am reliably informed is a nuclear power. So there's a lot of things in here that basically, Hillary is a vile creature, and Trump is, he's no angel, and it doesn't really matter who gets in there because there is a bigger, more malicious entity that is manipulating and demolishing anything of any importance around the world. And of course, America being the beacon of hope and the beacon of freedom and so many other things that were not. According to them, it has to come down. It has to be. The world has to have no more United States the way that the way that it's known, the way that it is been portrayed. America is a fiction, and their creation, a pirate cove, and we all have blood on our hands because we are paying into it, because we are property of the United States corporation. Again, very hard for people to believe that America is a corporation, that it is run like a corporation. It's just easier to go along with the lies. It's easier to accept the lies than it is to accept uncomfortable truth. Let me see. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Let's bring Greg in there and see what's on his agenda. Hey now. No, still it looks like it's connected, but Skype is just a. Hey.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Happy Sunday.
Pretty good. Your
happy,
levels.
Happy Sunday.
Right. You're happy Sunday to you. Your levels are like when you're talking, it's like I'm seeing it clip off the board here. Is there a way to kind of? Okay. And with Skype now, you can't I used to be able to go in there. If somebody's mic was a little hot, I could pull it down. I could pull their level down and max it and keep it level with mine. But then that all disappeared in Skype.
Oh, really? That was just
a
little better?
Yeah. That was a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So welcome back to Cold Reality Radio. Cold Reality.
In these interesting times, yes.
Right. and we got Clint coming up in about 5 minutes. So,
Oh, great.
Just message me when you're ready, and we'll have a trifecta here, the Holy Triumphant. So many things going on, and so you mentioned the Steve Pachenik thing, and I wasn't the other night. I was just like, I was so tired, and I was outside, and I was talking on the phone, and Sick Jackson was kind of sitting there. So you said something about a silent coup or a mini coup, like frosted mini coups.
Frosted mini wheats.
Frosted mini wheats, and there's a coup inside in a special prize. They don't do that anymore, do they? They used to put prizes, or was that just Cracker Jacks, or that was Cracker? I don't know.
No, cereal too. They used to be able to get toys in cereal boxes.
Yeah. Now, not anymore. It was just like, you had to pour the whole box of cereal out to see where it was, because chances are it was down at the bottom. But so Greg mentions this name, and I didn't know what it was, but you made the correlation that when Bill was running in '92 against was it George H.W. Bush, his father, or a man who he looked to as being the closest thing to the father that he didn't have, right? Uh-huh. And isn't it interesting now that they were running against each other? And of course, that was when Ross Perot was in the mix. Right?
As you recall back, if people remember back then, they were saying, like with the Larry Nichols thing coming out before, saying that, I got the goods on the Clintons there. Mm-hmm. We're going to release all this information before the election. And then the information was never released. And, we all know the results. And then after the election, it never came out. Mm-hmm. So this is a tactic that the Clintons have used.
And that's what we see. I mean, it's just like, and in this so-called, truth movement, we see them saying, or Jones saying, "Oh, this is big. Oh my God, this is going to change everything." And then it does nothing. It does nothing but like the Brexit. We look at this whole Brexit thing. Everybody over there at the InfoWars is like, "Oh, this is big. This is meant to destabilize." It's
all military psyops. It's all big
because what it's going to do is it's going to destabilize things. It's going to destabilize Europe. I mean, it's not good the way that it is. I mean, the EU is bullshit. It was just a control grid so that we could be brought to this point right now where if any changes or anything gets reversed, then we've got financial crisis and all these other things that they need to take us all to the next step. Clint, welcome.
Howdy.
Good morning.
Well, yeah, it's okay. Not too bad.
Okay, good to hear. All right. So here we are. We've seen the mudslinging. We've seen the absolute degeneracy of this presidential election, or this going through the machinations of what is supposed to be a democracy and just utter bullshit that we all kind of realize on different levels. And I mean, Clint has broken this down. The whole they're different between an elector and a voter, and he's broken it down in any number of ways to the dotted I, to the cross T, that this whole electoral thing is we don't have anything to do with this vote. It's just this illusion that we do, and because they try to get so many people to vote, and that's why they spend a lot of money to rock the vote. They try to get all these demographics out there voting. So because the vote legitimizes an illegitimate system that really does not, it only relies on us to believe in it, and it gives it power, right? To believe in it. We've seen this through any number of movies where if you stop believing in it, if you don't believe in the monster, then the monster disappears. The only reason why the monster, you believe the monster's under the bed, or you believe the monster's in the basement, is because you believe it's there, and that makes it real. And that's what the elections are.
It can't hurt you unless you breathe power into it. unless you breathe life into the fiction, basically. Just like a cartoon character can't exist except on the magic screen, right? And the cartoon character has no life except what its creator, its God, gives it. And so we, just like our persons, we operate in commerce in that person, and we give it life. And so the act of voting is nothing more and nothing less than an action, or you could say an expression of consent, express consent to the existence, not just the power of, or not just the notion of, but the actual existence of the federal government's the corporation. And you think about the corporation. It's one thing to call it the corporation nation. It's another thing to just realize, that's exactly what it is. It's a creation of it's literally a creation of Congress. Because you think about it, all the executive departments and everything are creations of Congress, right? Everything is a creation of Congress, not of the president. When the president creates, he has the power given to him by Congress. When the president does anything, including declaring emergencies to put us into a perpetual state of war against, terrorism and that kind of thing, these all come from the gods, from the God that is the legislature, or i.e. the people, which is the God of the United States, the creator, right? We the people. We the people are the ones that we, the common people, pledge allegiance to, and they're the ones that created the United States, right?
Sure.
So how can you think of it as anything else but a holding corporations? And you think about Russia. Russia has many nations. There's nations all over the place. And I'm starting to really, get to the point now where I fully understand that why, for instance, the Bible is so against nations. Why the Bible says, when you escape the nations, you must get together and be Christ-like. When, right, everything's against the nations. I'm realizing that the nations are really a cancer. They're really the dens of inequity, the dens of evil. Well, what is a nation, right? A nation, you think about what our nation is in America. It's Washington, D.C. and nothing else. That's it. It's just that little stretch right there. So, the states, they're their own territories. Territory comes from terra, which is land, right? That's the real deal. But when you're talking about the nation that extends its jurisdiction over all the other things, all the other parts, then you've got a sickness. You've got this dis-ease that's literally putting its tentacles into every aspect of everybody's life, even though it's only, less than 10 miles square in Washington, D.C., and then, of course, you've got the Lieber Code that says when a military base is in your territory, in your state, then you know that you are under martial law. We have a military base, of course, active military base of the federal nation in every state. We are under martial law. That's the first frickin' code in the Lieber Code. Go read the Lieber Code; it'll astound you, as to what we're actually in. So the nation is literally the disease on all of these different states or countries out there. It's nation and country aren't even the same, quote unquote terminology. So what a nation is it establishes a character. That's how it's defined. It's the Jews defined it as basically a prison for goyim, a debtor's prison for goyim, for the Gentiles, for those who don't call themselves, Christians or Jews. Look at the definition. It means to be born. That's what a nation what the word nation means. So if you're born in the nation, you call the nation your father. Well, what does the Bible say? Never call any man or other thing your father. Right? So we've got this huge, disastrous event that's called nations. Now we've got the United Nations. So now we're going to have one national God, basically, over all other nations. And that's why it was so important to establish the power of each nation over all the common people, because now you have the United Nations that's going to have power over all people, all the common people of the world. And the United Nations is generally, it's just the big holding company for all the private landholders of the world.
And it works for a certain portion of society, and it doesn't work for the most of society. Greg, so when we were you were mentioning that around the time that 1992 presidential election, we heard all of these different things about Whitewater and all these things, and people knew that Clinton was corrupt, and so kind of roll from that standpoint, because of what we're seeing now is a playbook.
We're seeing a playbook being written out. It's a little bit more deep now because of WikiLeaks, and look, we probably know that's all just, this whole idea that this Steve Bogenic guy, saying that this is a silent coup on Alex Jones. I mean, if that doesn't give you, make you step back and say, "Whoa, I smell a rat here." I don't know what will, but
yeah,
we'll have to see how it plays out, because
Right.
So I mean, look, it's all just a big stage show.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, the question then is, if you say it's all a stage show, then nothing any of these people are doing, none of these speeches, none of these events, none of these leaks were not meant to happen. And that, to me, is a very frightening thought, that they could be that organized in their deceit.
Right. And then somebody said this morning, somebody I was watching,
and also on the other,
was watching RT. They said,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
It was this Worlds Apart or something, Oksana Boyko or whatever. She was interviewing this professor of the university. He said, well, when it comes down to conspiracy, and he said, I usually say that people are not that competent to be able to pull off something like that. And and I heard that, and I was like, really? This guy really actually believes that if a conspiracy theory versus incompetence or lack of competence, he will say, nah, it wasn't. They're not that organized to be able to create a.
Well, okay. We'll define organized. What actually organized the nation? Well, it was the Constitution. So you go to U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1. They didn't write this on accident. They said that Congress shall be, in all cases, except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, will be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the sessions of their respective houses and in going to and from the same. And for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place. They shall not be questioned in any other place for anything they say in a debate or in any speech. They have immunity. Do you think that's not a conspiracy? Immunity is not part of a conspiracy.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, every time they say that because of security, for security reasons, we cannot, in court or wherever, we cannot talk about that. We can't address that because of national security. And the only thing that national security is doing is protecting those that are, that are doing whatever they're doing. And again, I don't want to say they're criminals or they're doing these things, because that's a lot of people think that that they can take America back. That if we do this, I mean, Pachenik thinks, he's got to be an operative. These people can't be, around this long and be this ignorant of the things that I've heard Clint speak about. They can't be. They have to be playing. They have to be playing their roles. They have to. They cannot be this ignorant of the fact that that this whole thing is an absolute creation.
Could you possibly enlighten the audience and tell the audience when it was that we possessed America in the first place?
No, when
was it that the common goyim, the common people of the nation, had possession of America? When is it that we had some paperwork or something that says we own America? We never had that, so what the hell do you think you're going to take back when you never had anything in the first place?
Right. We can't take it back. It's not ours. It's their creation. Now, we can, we can leave it, or we can, like so many times throughout history, I believe that things were forcefully taken. So, if enough people, which is highly unlikely, were to say, there's not going to be any nations, there's not going to be any, you're not going to be allowed to do this to us anymore, because now, guess what? We're going to take whatever you created, and we're going to turn it into something that we like, through, and then of course there would be bloodshed and things like that. So, granted, when I hear, when Greg said to me, we got to find, we don't know who we are, so we have to first understand who we are. And of course, he listening to you, conveying that over to me, saying, Clint, it's got some good information. You should check it out. We could leave it and not participate in it, or we could just take that they've taken from everybody else, because it's been said that they've taken everything from us and lied to us, right? They've taken everything.
Well,
so we can simply go back and punch them in the face.
Status to a private citizen. That's what you get.
Right.
Let me point you guys to something else that you need to really kind of grasp here, because we are talking about a stage play, right? We're talking about which involves actors, right? I recommend that everybody look at 4th generation and now 5th generation warfare. You can even go to YouTube or Wikipedia and find a blurb on 4th generation warfare. And the way that it is defined in some aspect is that 4th generation warfare has been involved in insurgent group or other violent non-state actors trying to implement their own government or reestablish an old government over the current ruling power. So what I'm trying to tell you when I say this is 4th generation warfare, it's a mental conditioning. It's a mental warfare. It's the same thing as the Cold War, and it's the same thing as the nuclear threat. It's something that will never happen because of obvious reasons. There is no possibility of war without annihilation at this point. But what there is this, we went from first generations, which was the musket, and then we went into the 2nd generation of warfare, which were, World War I. 3rd generation, you have stormtroopers, you have all these things. And then now you're getting into everything that's happened after World War II, which is psychological-based type of warfare, information-based, through actors, non-state actors. It's often involving failed states and civil wars. There's a reason, of course, that groups like Hillary's nonprofit organization and why our own government buys guns and hands them out to the guerrillas in every one of these fucking states, all these so-called insurgents and everything. Well, we're going to support this terrorist group because we don't like this other terrorist group. Then that terrorist group goes, well, now we have to support the other terrorist. We're literally keeping 4th generation warfare active. What is 4th generation warfare? conflicts which involve terrorism, a non-national or transitional base. You notice there's no nations involved. A direct attack on the enemy's culture. Well, what the hell are they doing with all these Muslims? Highly decentralized. Highly sophisticated psychological warfare, which is what you're seeing with the elections, because remember, the people don't elect the fucking president. We don't vote. When we vote, all we're doing is saying, yes, I agree in what the Electoral College will decide, which is the political parties. We have nothing to do with it. That is a highly sophisticated psychological warfare in fourth generation warfare, especially through media manipulation and lawfare. All available pressures are used, both political, economic, social, and military, occurs in a low-intensity conflict involving actors from all networks. Non-combatants are tactical dilemmas. So in other words, all the insurgents, all the people that are militias and all that stuff. Lack of hierarchy. Obviously, none of these groups have a control grid, nor does any of us out here in the what are called the truth movement, the patriot movement, right? It's a complete lack of hierarchy, complete lack of organization, which is why it never can succeed against such an organized criminal element as government. It's small in size. No matter which group you're looking at, it's a very small compared to anything national. And it's spread out in networks of communications and financial support. We know that, again, from all these financial disclosures that are coming out. And it's especially the use of insurgencies and guerrilla tactics instead of what are known as the Geneva Conventions, modern, war, the laws of war, that kind of thing. We're in the perfect state of fourth transitioning to fifth generation warfare. Fifth generation will be the implementation of all these patents that we know about, where they're beaming shit into your head, where they're beaming pictures of Jesus Christ or Allah in the sky, that kind of thing. Alien invasions, all that shit. That's when technology comes into play. But for right now, we're still in the ridiculous belief that all of this is happening somehow naturally, or according to not according to the plans of the elite, right? That all these guerrillas and everything have guns and ISIS and all this shit. This is all part of fourth generation warfare. And keep in mind, when I say fourth generation warfare, I mean warfare fought against the common perspective, the common knowledge, the common people. It's not wars against nations. It's all nations united fighting a war against us, an information war, and that includes the information war that Alex Jones puts out, all this stuff that's being told to us, all these WikiLeaks, that's all part of the war against our senses. And you know what? We don't do a damn thing about all this information because we hear it, we hear our officials in our government that is supposedly kicking out all this information, and we say, oh, well, they have the information, therefore they're going to do something about it. No, that's fourth generation warfare. Bombard you with information so that you have no frickin' idea what to do with it. You know everything's corrupt, and you know that there's nothing you can do about it. That's part of the warfare against you. You see, this is what people don't understand. We're in a war, certainly. We're in a war against the Third World, which we could call the Third World War. Wouldn't call it World War III, but certainly the Third World War, a war against, all those people. You're talking about a different kind of war. You're talking about the 1984 kind of war here. Fake. Absolute everything is fake or planned or a bunch of guns passed out to a bunch of people who have no organizational training or anything else. So, that's what we're under. The presidential election is part of that low-intensity combat against our senses. We don't even know.
The real war of the world.
We vote. We don't even know that our vote doesn't count. That's amazing.
Yeah. And when I look at some of these platforms and I see this morning I was watching RT and they have these documentaries that you will never ever see, on in our news platforms here about Chicago, how there's like 20 homicides like every weekend, and then there's this one guy, this priest guy who gets together, and he gathers in South Chicago, and they get together and they play basketball, and they seem like they're good kids, like they've got a method. They're trying to save the kids from what's out there. And then this one kid, after this one big game, I think Spike Lee was there, and apparently another member of the family. I remember Clint saying that this kid goes and he's in the neighborhood and he gets shot in the face and he dies. And then his mother says, "I don't know that he had any enemies, that anybody that would want to do that to him, And the only thing I can think with, Rahm Emanuel being the mayor of Chicago, that I think what's happening is they've got these units and stuff that are in there that are just, they're just shooting and killing people. I mean, it's happening anyway. So then they just send these teams out, or whoever they are, and they're just murdering people now, apparently.
There's one other aspect of fourth generation warfare that everybody needs to be very aware of, because we're all victims of it. We can't help but be victims of it because we're in constant fear. All right, survival. One of the goals, when we had wars before, it was to overthrow other nations, other rulers, to spread, whatever it is. Today, what is the government telling us? We need to prepare. We need to have our survival kits. We need to do. It's all about survival. What was the significant part? The real significance of the World War II, the end of World War II, was that nuclear bomb, supposedly, that knocked out just incinerated everything, supposedly. And from that point on, the very face of war, the very perception of war changed to the point where, holy shit, if we have war, we're going to be lucky if we survive, right? That's the psyche of fourth generation warfare. Remember, this is a low intensity, so they don't need all of that high power equipment, because there's just this constant threat of war that will lead to survival. Survival is one of the most important aspects of this fourth generational psychological warfare, because it turns each of us against each other. Because what are we surviving but a bunch of hungry assholes that are just like us, right? So part of the psychological warfare aspect of this whole thing, and what it has been for a long time, is that notion of turning people into survivalists, turning people into essentially an ununified people, ununified both in their patriotism, but also in their law. So that there is no, without government, there's going to be no law. You're going to have to survive. You're just going to have to forget the natural law altogether and just start killing people to survive. Killing your neighbors, killing your family, right? That is an essential part of this. And if you haven't noticed, what is Alex Jones selling? What are all these networks selling? And now what are the main networks selling? They're selling gold and silver. They're selling storable food. They're selling military equipment, fucking bulletproof vests, ammunition, guns, all of the shit that they're selling on InfoWars and everything else. What are, how about iodine in case you're radiated, right? Everything is geared towards survivalism, not towards unification of the mind, the body, and the spirit, not towards unification in Christ, not towards unification in law, but survival. I got to survive my neighbor. I got to survive the police. I got to survive the government. I got to survive everything. I got to survive the zombies, for God's sake.
Oh, no.
That, my friends, is the main component of this fourth generation warfare. And trust me when I say I've fallen for it. Everybody's fallen for it. Because how do you not? How do you not look around and say, I better prepare, get some food, get some guns? How do you not? Because that's the way they've set this whole thing up. You got to understand that's part of the plan. And Alex Jones, your info warriors and all that shit, all this stuff about prepping and why it's mainstream, that's part of the show. That's part of the actors. That's part of the entire structure of fourth generation warfare. And I think that's probably one of the most important parts about it, because we're all in on it.
Yes, yeah, it's they've gotten us to participate in every aspect of it. And where would we be without the life straw? It's you know, I don't see much hope. I like to think that there's a little bit, and then you've got a situation where just totally distracted by Jack running up the stairs. I'm like, that dog is sick. What's he doing that? Yikes. The only thing that we really can do.
Intense for you?
No.
He lost his place.
No. Just that's Jack's just sick. He was outside getting some sun, tanning.
Poor Jack.
And then he just kind of ran in here. So it's like, because we kind of had to keep him sequestered to the kitchen because he's just having a incontinence problem. That just threw me off. But no. I mean, it's it is pretty it is pretty dire. We are in. Maybe we really totally have to look at it like like George Carlin looks at it. He said, bring it on. He said, I'll get the popcorn and I'd sit there and I'm watching it and just I'll be entertained by it. Until the awful economic statistics and everything create. You're going to have gangs in your own town probably, right? I'm just sitting there. I hung out with a basket of deplorables the other day, and it was weird because they were like little children, and I was like, "Is that child a deplorable?" And so yeah, it was a relatively small Trump rally, but I just wanted to kind of see, what was it? It was very tiny, maybe about 20, maybe 25 people. And
if you go to Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read you this list here. This is a list of, you can always go to synonyms or things that are related to something. So at the end of the article, it says "see also," right? At the end of fourth generation warfare on Wikipedia, here's what it says: asymmetric warfare, the CIA's Special Activities Division, the DIA's Defense Clandestine Service, civil disobedience, civil resistance, civilian casualty ratio, counterinsurgency, cyber warfare, divide and rule, irregular warfare, military operations other than war,
nonviolent
strategy, nonviolent resistance, nonviolent revolution, proxy wars, unrestricted warfare, a war amongst the people, i.e. civil war, war cycles, war on drugs, etc., etc. So you've got all the things that we're familiar with, right? All those aspects, from the CIA to the all of that is part of this warfare against us. Oh, we must have non-violent revolution. No such fucking thing. Oh, we must have non-violent resistance. No such fucking thing. It doesn't work that way. Nothing has ever worked that way. This is all part of the fucking show. It's all part of the act. And that's why you have in all these alternative movements. It's why Jan Irvin was going after these people who are supporting nonviolent communication, nonviolent revolution, nonviolent... It's all bullshit. There's no such thing as nonviolence. You show me one aspect of nature that is non-violent, and I'll give you everything I have, which is not much.
Yeah, there's no way that any of this and they are, let's be honest, and I mean, they are steering us into, we've been pushed into a corner. I mean, that's what it is, and it's going to, the only reaction the only characteristic is going to be, the behavior that will allow them to, take it to take it to another level, which means, and then what? What do you got? I mean, with the police out there shooting a lot of the black people and.
Well, what do they show?
Yeah.
What do they show you during 1984? Have you ever seen the movie or read the book? What are they showing in the background on a constant basis? They're showing fake war. They're showing the propaganda on how they're just in a constant state of war. That causes people civil obedience. So it causes people nonviolent resistance, nonviolent revolution. It causes civil obedience. It causes all these things that they want. And then at the same time, they'll promote civil disobedience so that they can get people like us to be a little more outspoken. You know that people like us are not being unnoticed. We're being tolerated. We're being allowed. But we're short in our days. We're short in our numbers.
Oh, sure. Yep. The inevitability of knowing too much. Yeah, I mean, what can where do we go from here? I mean, what happens after the election? If Hillary gets in, then all the people that were for Trump, I mean, they're going to crawl back to wherever from whence they came. I think that if for some reason Trump wins, that there's going to be, civil unrest, more civil unrest.
No. The truth is nothing at all will happen, because nothing happens in any other election, because nothing's changing. Nothing is changing. We're going to take back America. We're going to make America great again. No, you're talking about the cycles that have been planned for this nation all along. There's nothing that's going to change. And you know what? Your truth movement's not going to change. They're still going to listen to Alex Jones. Your patriot movement's not going to change. They're still going to hoard weapons and guns. It's a great way for the gun manufacturers, which happen to be them, to make a lot of money. They don't give a shit if we have guns. They can destroy us at the push of a freaking button. They're not worried about it. We're just another insurgency to them. We're a pesky fly. Don't fool yourselves into thinking that because we can, quote-unquote, carry guns, that we're a threat to this freaking government. You've got a whole military against you, and trust me, those guys are brainwashed into killing you at the drop of a hat if you dare challenge their gods that they're assigned to protect. They took an oath, remember? So stop with the crap. Stop with the false beliefs. Stop allowing fourth generation warfare, psychological warfare, to rule your minds. Nothing's going to change, right? Nibiru is not coming. The comets are not coming. Jesus Christ is not returning to Earth unless you make it happen through you. There is no God coming to save you. There is no war coming to save you. There is no president coming to save you. Only you can save yourself. That's the key.
I was kind of hoping for the meteor.
Oh shit, that'd be great. But it ain't going to happen. But it's going to be used over and over and over, just like they said in their reports. Going to go from meteors to aliens to, they've got it all planned out. When one fear tactic doesn't work, they're going to move on to the next. And aliens is one of those, an alien invasion. They've been talking about it forever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hold out any hope that we're going to be saved. Just trying to chronicle it.
Well, I'll say it again, man.
I'm not that good at what I do.
I'll say it again. Hope must die. Hope is one of my pet peeves. Hope is the most horrible thing you can have if you actually want to change something. If you actually want a bunch of people to get up off their asses and do something, hope is the worst thing that you can give them, because that's what presidents do. That's what Trump is being assigned to do. And for those who support Hillary, that's what Hillary is assigned to do. Give them hope. And as long as they have hope, they're not going to do anything. They're going to continue to breathe life into the fiction. They're going to continue to give it power over them. Sorry, that's just how it works.
It's perfect. I mean, it's the perfect scenario, because once Trump, the celebrity, he could, and Greg and I were talking about this yesterday, that he would, who he is and the television show and all that stuff, he would be the only one that could have, the non-establishment guy who could come in there and win the nomination, because it's just, and of course you could go back and say, okay, the reason why he had the show was to prepare for this moment now. So he will not, he's just, he's the perfect candidate, and it's going to pretty much take whatever the Republican conservative, it's just going to erase that, so that all you have are baby killers and, just absolute degeneracy, from the Beyoncés to the Madonnas, to all of these people that make their living in Hollywood. They know that if they side with Hillary, that their careers will, flourish. Whatever that is to them, whatever it means to them. So it really is. We are really, like you said, we're getting down to just one ideology, and it's going to be the slippery slope into.
Well, I want to hear Greg's breakdown of stuff like you were talking about earlier. I will say one last thing, which is I think what people have never really had the concept of. Why do we, as opposed to the Queen, which is an age-old tradition, a passing of the crown, basically a passing of the Christhood to the next, living heir. We have this thing where it's a presidential and a congressional vote, and what the vote actually represents. And people, when I say this, it's probably going to sound ridiculous to some people until you think about it just for a minute. But what it really represents is a pressure valve releasing. It's the election cycle is I'm trying to think of the word. It's a play. It's a imitation. That's the word I'm trying. It's an imitation of an assassination. It's an imitation of death. The current corruption dies, and the Savior returns. It's a simulation of the Christ story, as is the Pope, as is the Queen. The only difference is in America, we do it so quick, every 4 years, every 2 years, that we never actually get anything. We never really treat them as royalty. We're served with another assassination, a simulated assassination every 4 years. And while that sounds silly, you'll think about it, you'll realize, you can even research it, and you'll understand that that's exactly what's happening. It's a simulated death of the king. And it works really well because we never get to know the king, and we can be manipulated even more by this constant change in authority. And on that note, I would like to hear Greg's breakdown of all this shit. I just heard, for instance, Greg, that the Homeland Security guy on television said that his opinion is that Hillary committed treason.
Oops, sorry, I had myself muted there. Yeah, a Hillman security guy. Which one was that? So much to fly at us.
I just heard it right before I came on here, so I don't know.
Let's see.
Oh, that's right. That was an interview we did the other day. He said with state secrets and stuff on our server is tantamount to treason. So,
right.
Now, like I've been saying, look, this is it's a stage show. They're letting us know. They're not hiding it from us that she represents the corruption out in the open. No two ways about it. She's a pirate, and she's Captain Hook, and there she is.
Captain Hooker.
So she's Captain Hooker. Exactly. And so it's just interesting that all this is coming out. Totally agree with Clint. It's a stage show, but I think it's more like they're watching to see our reactions because they want certain things to happen. They have to get the commoners to conform to certain things. And I think this election was a big beta test. How far is it going to go? Yeah. I mean, you look at the people, regardless of our opinion, more people are going to, it's obvious. Hillary Clinton can't honestly draw people to her rallies, and Donald Trump is just packing them in wherever he goes. So if she can't draw people to her rallies, if she cannot honestly draw people to rallies, then she cannot honestly draw people to the polling booths on Tuesday to elect her.
Yeah.
So the only way she could win is by cheating. But with all this stuff coming out, they're almost being limited to what they can do. So we're getting President Trump, it looks like at this point.
It's Greg, and you know what? I don't believe that anything is going to change the path. So if he does win, I would just be just a micro pleased that she's. I wouldn't have to look at her. And I mean, like Clint said a number of times, I mean, this guy's companies have gone bankrupt. America's bankrupt. Who better to oversee, the bankruptcy of America than someone who's gone through that? So,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And it gives them a chance to sort of, bag and tag everybody and sort of categorize them. Who are the people that are, at some point we know that we are a nation of really stupid people.
Yeah.
And this stupidity, you have to purge this at some point. You just can't. You can't let it go.
You have to measure that stupidity, though, on the fact that when it comes to the stupidity, we've been led to stupidity because there's such a barrage of false, information, all these fruits from the tree of knowledge of good and evil that are useless information. And that's part of the military strategy. It's called complexity theory. You guys ever heard of complexity theory? Because if you make an election so complex, when you start stacking on so many complexities with Donald Trump and all of his stuff, and then Hillary Clinton and all his stuff, how can you possibly choose between two leaning powers of shit? Right? You just go with what you're used to going with. You don't even think about your choice anymore. That's what I'm finding, especially with the Hillary voters, but also very much so with the Trump voters. They're just not thinking about it. They're just saying, I'm going to vote for Trump because I like what he says, or I like his pussy comments, or there's no complexity of thought with people, because the theory is if you make things too complex, people won't try and be smart, try and figure it out, like people like very few and far between like us, right? People aren't going to try to figure out, and that's what you experience when you go to work, Shali, and you talk to your friends, they're like, they're not going to spend hours and hours every day trying to figure out the nuances of each candidate, looking at their background. No, they're going to see a speech every once in a while. They're going to listen to the news. They're going to hear this complex pile of shit being thrown at them from a bunch of monkeys who are paid to do so by the CIA,
and
right? Operation Mockingbird.
They're pretending that they're participating in something, right? Because they don't want to be labeled as, oh, you just don't care about the process. I mean, people out there there's people out there that have no plan of voting ever, and the only reason that more people registered to vote when Obama was in the mix, Barry Dunham, aka, is because he was, he's a black man to, their version of what is actually happening. So they'll get in there, they'll vote for him. So of course it was a landslide. Who would want to look at John McCain, that friggin' wart on the world's asshole? But you've got now with her, being a female, you've got this fiction where, there's never been a woman president. And then, of course, now you got Madame Secretary and all these garbage shows out there. And I mean, it is an absolute cesspool of shit. And I mentioned last week about what's his face, Kiefer Sutherland, where in this television shit show, there's a bomb that goes off, and there's a lot of congressmen and senators and just killed. Apparently, the president was, blown up as well in this television show, and so that Kiefer Sutherland becomes the president. I mean, it's so fucking ridiculous. And like, I'm sitting there, and I wasn't even really watching it, but I was just sitting there, just kind of, I just want to kind of see what this shit is, and think, God, look at all the money that's being spent on this television show. One of many, okay? And then look at all, not only that, but look at all the Trump and Hillary, the pro-Trump, pro-Hillary commercials. Not to mention, in this area, there's Pat Toomey, and then this Katie McGinty, and the money that's being spent on that. Like, how can they even justify spending the money that they do on this, knowing that, I mean, there's so many people out there that are suffering. I mean, if you've got that kind of money, put it into, helping someone, right? We totally, that, whether we've allowed them to turn us into what we are, or we had no other choice, or I don't know. I mean, it's just that alone, the amount of money that's spent on elections in America to trash someone else is an absolute disgrace. We are an absolute disgrace. We are garbage. We've not just as a collective, we are. It's just what we become is absolutely discouraging at its core. I mean, there's a lot of good things about, the people that are listening, UCY, Clint and his research, Greg and his, his research and the things that he's done. And as I said before, Clint, Greg listening to Clint, and then Greg saying to me, hey, this guy's got some really, really good information. I think he's the closest to what this is than anyone else that we've listened to. So, we're good. I don't want to say America is great because America is good. Fucking Hillary. There's where somebody smack her so fucking hard her head just flies off. But, there's got to be something, we're going to be tested. We're going to be prodded and poked, and there's going to be so much that's going to be done to us. But I think that there's got to be some kind of something good that's going to come out of this. I mean, it can't, there's got to be something, And I'm not saying that this is going to change, or I know that everything's going to get much worse, but there's got to be something good that's going to come out of this on some level, somewhere, somehow, some way.
Well, good for them.
Good for them, right? Exactly.
The Rand company came up with this, said disaggregated forces such as guerrillas, terrorists, and rioters, which is basically what we are, which lack any sense of gravity or organization, deny to their enemies a focal point at which to deliver a conflict-ending blow.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
what does that mean? Perpetual war against the emergency. What's the emergency? We are insurgents. Remember, insurgents are actually the good guy. The government says an insurgent is a bad thing, but what insurgent is defined as is someone who's actually fighting for the country, not for the nation, but for their people, for their country, right? So when you hear that the government went in and killed a bunch of insurgents, we think, oh, yay, that's good. Actually, what that means is government went in, killed a bunch of people who are trying to defend their country against our invasion of it for absolutely no reason other than to convince us that we're doing good, that the military's good, that we're protecting our homeland by killing everywhere else, that kind of thing. It's all crap. It's all propaganda. It's 1984. You're living through 1984 right now. I mean, it's happening. It's just happening in a way more clandestine aspect than that. I don't know what to tell people.
The father of propaganda. Propaganda. So yeah, it's a mess, and all we can do is chronicle the fall of Western civilization. I mean, that's all we can do. I mean, and we've got different aspects. I mean, there's with Clint, he's got a lot of the backgrounds. He's got a lot of the the just really, really damning evidence of how insignificant we are in the grand scheme of things. And Greg and I were talking about Westworld. We were talking about how it is so similar to. I don't know if you have a ability to check that out, Clint. It really is so similar to what we're seeing here with the breakdown of
that show on TV.
Yeah, that's what Greg's saying. So Greg's
what show is it?
Called Westworld.
Oh, Westworld. Yeah. Yep.
I'd like to see it, but I'd have to pay for it.
You can see send that link. Send him that. Send Clint.
I'll send him the link. I'll send the link.
And it's very good. And like Greg was saying, it's very cerebral. It's kind of Matrix-like, but it makes you think about it. And there's a lot of different, really amazing things that are going to come down that are going to expose what this park is, where they have these biological androids.
Transhumanism, right?
Transhumanism, exactly. Yeah. So it's yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I don't know why I waste my time on any shows anymore, but it certainly passes the time in hell.
It's good, and Anthony Hopkins, a member of the family, and Ed Harris and all these guys. But they do a good job, and there are just crazy, awesome similarities between they have the hosts, the androids, and then they have the guests who come in and pay like $40,000 a day to spend time in this this fictional reality where and it's fascinating. There's so many things going on. So I think you would enjoy it, Clint. I caught up pretty quick on it.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, go ahead.
I was going to say the androids in the show, the robots, basically, I think it's an analogy for us. And the guests are the elites that can pay any amount of money to do whatever they want to us.
Yeah, that happens today, I think, hunting of humans and that kind of thing, hunting of tribes in Africa. I want to leave everybody with this last thought, right? If you're going to go vote, this is the National Archives Records Administration. This is from the North Carolina Secretary of State. This is what she said. It is important to remember that the President of the United States is not chosen by nationwide vote. The Electoral College vote totals determine the winner, not the statistical plurality or majority a candidate may have in the nationwide popular vote totals. It is important to remember that the President is not by
try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list. That's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform Shakana on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary. For the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They